Well, hello. It's so good to have you in my class again. I hope that you're doing well and everybody's good in your well in your household. We're good here. Um, so welcome back to art. This class is not just for my 3, 4, 5, and 6 A and B classes, but also for the parents. This would be a great fun activity for the whole entire family. So gather around, get your markers. I'll tell you what you need in a moment. Um, the thing that we're going to do today is draw some tiger lilies and download the copy that I gave you of the tiger lilies. It looks like this. The picture of the tiger lilies is all in black and white, and your sheet of paper is going to turn into something colorful like this. So you can pick your own colors. You can pick, we're going to talk about 3 different shades. You need 3 different shades, a dark, a medium, and a light. So have this handy. We're going to refer to it during the whole entire teaching. So have that handy. And this is just an example that I did of some colors that I chose. What you're going to need is some markers. And I bought myself Crayola 20 marker pack. It's about $5 at Walmart. It can be Crazy Art. It can be a different brand. But as long as there's at least 20, because if you get only 10, there's not enough choices in the pack for what we're going to do today. So get at least 20 markers. If you have more than like a 64 pack, whatever, it's great. So let's get started. Before we get into the drawing, I'm going to talk about our light and dark areas that you're going to need to follow for this lesson. So the first thing that I'm going to do is draw a tree. If I was going to draw a tree over this way, I did this in class for some of you that you remember that. And if the sun is over on this side of the tree, where would be the darkest areas? And you got this really quick, so you guys are quick learners. The darkest part is going to be away from the sun. So I'm going to show you how to use the broad tip marker on the side to just give some nice big fat thick markings of the branches and the tree trunk, so you can see the darkest areas are facing away from the sun. And this branch, this bottom part will be away from the sun. The top part is closest, so that's going to be the lightest part. And then I'm going to fill in some gray areas. Remember we did parallel lines, cross hatching. You can use dots. The closer together they are, the darker, the further away they are, the lighter. So here's some simple cross hatching, just to give you an idea of the darkest, the middle, and the lightest part of the tree. And where would the shadow be? Yes, it's going to be on the opposite side of the sun. So the part that's furthest away, use your broad side of your marker. You can make an outline and then fill in when you use your markers. So that's going to be the shadow of the tree. When you look at your tiger lily drawing, you're going to see the darks and the lights. There's shades of gray, darks, and lights. Now, if you were to decide where the sun is in this picture, where would you say it would be? If you said it was up here, like on the left side of it, it would be correct, because if you looked at the stems and the leaves, the dark side is away from the sun. So your lightest part are shining towards the sun. Your darkest parts are away from the sun. I want you to keep that in mind as we do our drawing. So now what you need to do is pick 3 colors. And I listed here light, middle, and dark. You can pick any of the colors in your marker box as long as you have a light, a middle, and a dark. I chose these 3 and that's what I'm going to work with, but you can use any color. They could be pinks, reds, oranges. You may have 3 different shades of oranges and work with them, or it can be blues. You can do lavender and lilac color and a dark purple, or put a pink in with the darker markers. The important thing is that you have 3 shades, because you're going to need the 3 colors to work with this drawing today. So the first thing we're going to do, you can pause the video at any time and get your markers and get your materials if you don't have them. The other thing that you're going to need is a piece of drawing paper. And I have a piece of scratch paper. You can see the top and the bottom. It's a little bit bigger than my drawing paper. Underneath it, when you're doing this at your table, having another piece of paper underneath is very wise, so it doesn't bleed through to the table. So make sure you have an extra piece of paper. Also, another piece of scrap paper is a good idea to test your colors. Like, fold it in half so you have a double paper, and do all your testing of your markers and see which ones you want to pick. And I would number them 1, 2, and 3 on a paper like this, so that you know which one is the lightest, the middle color, and the darkest. So you'll have it all ready to go when we're ready to paint, do with markers rather. Okay. The other thing that you need is a Sharpie or a fine tip marker, a black marker. Now this one is a Sharpie. It's called Ultra Fine, and I'll show you the point. It's very thin, a very thin tip, not like the broad markers that we're going to use for the color. But the fine tip is to do some detail work. So you're going to need it in the beginning, and you're also going to need it at the end. I found that the Sharpie doesn't bleed when you put another marker color over top of it. Some fine tip markers are good to use that you can test it and put a colored marker over top of it and see if it bleeds. If it bleeds, it's not a big deal. But it won't muddy, this one won't muddy the colors. So just to begin, we're going to look at this picture, and this is a little bit smaller than my paper. So I'm going to focus on this flower first. So what I want you to do is put your hand over that flower and picture where it's going to go on your white paper that you haven't drawn anything on it yet. So the placement is important. We're going to put one flower here, and remember we have 2 flowers. The little one is going to be down at the bottom. So let's place this first one up around here. It's on the upper right. And I want you to count the stamens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I count 6 stamens in this flower. So we're going to make 6 dots, placing it right about in this area. So the dots can go anywhere. And I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 dots. And then we're going to draw a line, and they can be crooked, they can be straight, they can overlap one another down to the same point. All 6 lines are going to come to the same point. Then we're going to take these dots and we're going to make it into a kidney shape, a little kidney shaped dot. Each one of them can be a little different. They don't need to be perfect. if you look at real flowers, no two are alike. The stamens are all different. Very detailed. God is so detailed and so creative that he doesn't usually make two things the same. Doesn't make two of us the same, does he? So we color in all of those, and we have the beginning of our stamens. That's the beginning part of our flower. The next step is I want you to take your lightest color, the one that is the lightest of the three that you chose, and we're going to start with the petals. All of these, how many petals are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to start with the one closest to us, this one right here, and we're going to outline it, and it's got a shape like it's big at the middle, and then it kind of goes to a point at the end. And then we're going to do the next one. So the next one kind of goes up this way and around. That's 2 petals. Then we're going to do the third one. And the third one has kind of a point at the top. And you can, don't have to finish all the lines. The next one is going to come down this way. It hangs. And then the 5th one is overlapping, and it has another deep hanging part right here. So then we're going to take our marker and just color in. Now you notice that I'm coloring over top of the black lines. They are permanent and they won't move. They are going to stay where they are. So it doesn't hurt to color over top of them. And again, if you have broad tip markers, it'll color in a lot quicker than the fine tip ones. You can use the fine tip ones. It'll just take maybe a little bit longer to do the project, and that's okay. I want you to take your time and color in all of the petals. Try not to leave any white marks, any white paper. We're going to color them all in. And I'm going right over top of the stamens, and it's not hurting it. Look, it's not hurting it at all. Can you see? You can color back and forth, up and down. If you want to change the shape of your flower petal, you can still do that. You can make it bigger. And since this overlaps, it's all the same color. It really doesn't matter. We're going to fix that when we get to our darker colors, where one begins and the other ends. Okay, so there is 5 petals. Now the next step, we're going to pick the middle, or the darkest color, number 3, which is your darkest color. So on your picture, the copy in black and white, you'll see where the darkest parts of the petal are, and you can outline the shape even. Let's take the first petal, and I can outline this side of it because the sun's over here. So the darkest part is going to be away from the sun. And then it kind of has a shape, a skinny shape like this going down that one petal. So we'll color that in with the darkest color that you chose. And then the next petal, the darkest part is on the bottom of this petal. It goes up a little higher than the other one, and then color that in as well. Now, why do you think we started with the lightest color? If we started with the darkest color, what would happen? we wouldn't be able to see the lightest color, or probably not even the middle color, if we started with the darkest and filled in all of our petals with the darkest color, would we? So that's the reason that we start with the lightest when we're doing the markers. Keep going around the flower. And gives some of the dark in the middle. And then the next petal, we have to define a little bit here. The dark is probably in the middle here. And then this last one, outline the side of it. And it kind of comes down through the center, the dark shadow. And then we'll color in this part. This is the darkest shade. Okay, can you see that? And then the next step, of course, is going to be the middle shade. So the middle shade that you picked is going to be the next color. And usually it's between the light and the dark. So look at the picture in black and white and see where the shadow or where the shades are of the middle gray that you see there. So on this one, on this petal, just take one petal at a time and color in. You can do an outline of the shape of the shade, or just come down and color in the part that is in the middle. Take one petal at a time. And go all the way around the flower. I like this one. You can kind of make up where your middle part is. Sometimes it's hard to see in the black and white picture, but just so you know where your light source is. The middle color is really close to the dark one. And now I'm on the final one. So there we have 3 shades, 3 different colors on the leaf, on the petals. Now, the last part of this flower is back to the ultra fine tip marker. And we're going to put a little bit of detail in. You'll notice here there is a line in the middle of the petals and also some dots. That'll give it the tiger lily look. So let's put a line like right down in the middle of this petal. Sometimes it has more than one line, just a little bit. And then we're going to make freckles or dots. They look like freckles, don't they? It doesn't matter how many you're making. You don't need to count every dot. But as long as you have the idea that there are many dots in these petals. So again, this line, there's a couple lines that come out like that. And you can make a little bit of detail and put your dots. Some are bigger, some are smaller, some are long, some are a little short. And go up the line a little bit. And then you take the next one. There's a line in the middle, and there's some dots line on this one, comes down, swoops, and there's dots on this one as well. Scatter them, they're not all in a row. And let's do the final one. Come down here and put some dots, or freckles, as I like to call them. Did you know flowers have freckles too? And there's your detail. I'm going to pull this up closer so you can see. At the end of this video, we're going to do the other flower the same way. And you need to put the placement, just like you did with this one, where it's going to go. It's going to go, for my place, it's going to go right down in this corner. It's going to fill up this part. It's not going to be as big as this one. So we're going to make it a little bit smaller. And I think you can do this on your own, but I'm going to walk you through part of it too. So let's count the stamen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5. So my flower is going to be here. The stamens are kind of at the top of that flower. So let's put 5 dots, and then they will all go to the same point. And again, the kidney shapes around the dots will make the stamens. See how easy this is? It's not that hard. Everyone can be a little bit different, and they look kind of fun. So again, we're going to start with the lightest color, number 1, the lightest color to make the petals. And I always start with the one closest to me. And you'll notice that it runs off the page, so you can make it go all the way down. And that's why I have this paper here, because if it was on the table, it would get on the table. So let your paper take the marks, not the table. So there's one petal. And this one kind of droops. It's a nice big and droops a little bit. This one kind of has, can't see the bottom of it. And then this one swoops around this way. If you need to go off the page over here, depending on your placement, it's okay. So I've got 5 petals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we color them in. And again, you do the same thing that you did with the first flower. So continue doing that. First the light color, then the darkest, and then the middle color. Then we put the stamens, the lines and the dots or freckles in the middle of the flower. I'll see you next time, and we're going to continue doing this with the putting in the leaves and the buds, the stems that are going to come up through the flower, and we're going to pick your 3 colors that you're going to do for that ahead of time. They could be 3 different greens. They could be browns, or you even use a black for the darkest color, a green, a brown, a black, however you want to choose. I like to see how different they're going to be. So we'll see you next time.